Dear listener, first of all, let me wish you true happiness, love, and well-being. May every new day bring you warmth and light, just like the morning sun piercing through the darkness of night. If you find even a trace of comfort, joy, or wisdom in my words, I would be immensely grateful if you subscribe to my channel. It will only take a few seconds, but for me, it means invaluable support in my quest to share the most heartfelt life stories with you. That night, I stood in the cold half-light, staring into the dark abyss of the car showroom, where through fogged-up windows a restless light flickered. My heart pounded furiously while fear, bewilderment, and a heavy premonition of something dreadful swirled inside me. It felt as if time had slowed down, and every sound, a distant echo, awakened long-forgotten memories within me. I remember how everything began at that fateful moment. The air was filled with a subtle scent of nocturnal freshness mixed with the metallic gleam of headlights, and I could hardly believe my eyes. Deep inside the hall, next to a luxurious car, laughter, feminine, mocking, and eerie, rang out. My heart clenched as I saw Maxim, my Maxim, the man with whom I shared my life, embraced by a young woman. My hands trembled and my mind swirled with a torrent of questions. How is this possible? Where is that kind, gentle man I loved with all my heart? Why is a scene of betrayal and pain unfolding before my eyes right now? I slowly stepped closer, trying not to betray my inner turmoil. Every detail of that night stabbed me like a sharp knife. On the gleaming showroom floor lay a pair of handcuffs, a leather belt, and a mysterious mask, as if symbols of a forbidden, alien world into which Maxim had plunged. I felt a storm rising inside me, anger, hurt, fear, and confusion intertwined in an unrelenting dance. "Maxim! What is happening?" My voice roared, yet it also echoed the sound of my own suffering. "It's not what you think," came his weak, uncertain reply, as if trying to hide the truth. But for me, it was already too late. The look in his eyes, filled with fear and shame, told me that no words could ever change what was unfolding. In that very moment, as if driven by an unseen force, my hands reached for his phone resting on the dashboard. I could scarcely believe my eyes when I saw the messages. Hundreds of texts addressed to different women, each one a piercing blow to my heart. Years of trust, tenderness, and shared dreams had turned out to be nothing more than an illusion Maxim had maintained while betraying me behind my back. My thoughts flashed like jagged lightning into the deepest corners of my soul. How could I have been so blind for so long? How did all these small signs, a foreign earring, a receipt for a ring I never received, come together to form this terrifying picture of betrayal? Tears involuntarily streamed down my cheeks, mixing with the rain that began to softly drum against the showroom windows. In that moment, I felt an indescribable emptiness envelop my mind, as if the entire world around me was collapsing. A quiet inner voice whispered, "You deserve more. You deserve the truth, even if it hurts." Yet my heart, battered by pain, demanded an immediate answer, each passing moment dragging me deeper into the abyss of suffering. I recalled not so long ago when Maxim and I used to dream about our future together. Long evenings side by side, endless walks along the seashore, quiet talks about how love could overcome anything. Our days had been filled with smiles, tender touches, and mutual understanding. But now, all those images seemed like echoes of a bygone era, the time when I believed our bond was unbreakable. My heart beat in sync with my doubts, and each new message I discovered on his phone carved fresh wounds into me. I found no solace, for every detail of that night, the cold showroom lights, the muffled laughter, the strange objects scattered on the floor, told me that my world had finally crumbled. In that moment, I felt an icy chill of realization coursing through my veins. The life I thought was filled with love and harmony turned out to be nothing more than an illusion, crafted to hide a bitter truth. How could Maxime, the man with whom I had shared my most intimate dreams, so easily lose respect for everything we had built together? These questions tormented me as I stood in that dark hall, surrounded by shifting shadows and sounds that sent shivers through my entire being. I knew that a moment was coming when I could no longer deny reality, and even though everything inside me screamed of betrayal, I felt a strange calm, as if the pain, however unbearable, was showing me a path toward a new beginning. And so, against the backdrop of that horrifying revelation, when every second felt like an eternity, I realized that my story was only just beginning. At that decisive moment, when fate had taken a new turn, I felt within me the urge either to understand and forgive, or to sever all ties forever. But this is only the tip of the iceberg. In the following parts, I will recount how it all began, how Maxim and I first met, how our love blossomed, and how gradually, almost imperceptibly, the shadow of betrayal crept in. I will share the first signs that made me doubt, and how one fateful day turned everything upside down. I will tell you how I searched within myself for answers and faced an inner struggle that changed me forever. I remember it as though it were yesterday, a sunny autumn day when the gentle warmth of the first rays of sun lit up my morning. I was leading a yoga workshop by the seaside, and it was there, amid the sounds of the waves and the whisper of the wind, that I first met Maxim. His gaze was calm and confident, as if he could read my thoughts, even though I hadn't yet fully understood what I wanted out of life. At that moment, I never suspected that fate would bring me not only love, but also a betrayal capable of shattering my entire world. He was a man who radiated calm and assurance. In his eyes, a spark of kindness burned, and even the way he spoke, soft, slightly bashful, instilled trust. After my session, he approached me with a quiet, "Thank you for sharing your energy," and in that brief exchange of words, I felt an inexplicable connection pass between us. It was as if nature itself had decided to gift us a moment of true closeness that promised change. Our meetings became regular. Every morning, I began the day thinking about how it would unfold, knowing that there was always a place for a brief but heartfelt conversation with Maxime. We strolled along the seafront, discussed books, movies, dreams, and even the simple joys of life, as if we had found in each other that part of our soul which had been searching for its reflection for so long. His laughter sounded like music, and each smile made my heart beat faster. I often found myself wondering, could one meeting really change an entire life? We spent evenings together, enjoying cozy talks over a cup of aromatic tea. He shared his dreams, and I confided my hopes for a better future. In those moments, I felt that together we could overcome any difficulty. Our relationship evolved naturally and harmoniously, as if two souls arriving at each other after long years of wandering. We dreamed of a future, made plans, and discussed how we would live and grow together, supporting each other in every endeavor. Yet life often proves to be complex and multifaceted. In moments when everything seemed perfect, I began to notice small, almost imperceptible details that stirred a strange sense of unease within me. Sometimes I saw Maxim staying late after work, a smile on his face that faintly concealed unspeakable thoughts. At first, I tried to dismiss it as merely his busy schedule and ambition for success. However, as often happens, the little signs, a foreign earring found in his car, or a brief message that flashed on his phone, gradually began to form a picture I could no longer ignore. Each time I noticed something odd. A quiet yet insistent voice inside me whispered, "Something isn't right." These little alarms of worry crept into my consciousness, but I kept reassuring myself, "It's just a coincidence. Don't think of the worst." How can one doubt someone who treats you so tenderly? In those moments, I tried to console myself, insisting that everything could be explained by simple reasons: a busy work schedule, chance encounters, or an unspoken misunderstanding. Maxim often spoke of our future plans, of how we would build a house by the sea, where every room would be filled with light and warmth. His words sounded like a promise of eternal devotion, and I caught myself sincerely believing every word he said. In those moments, I imagined us greeting sunrises and sunsets together, our souls merging into one, and all our dreams coming true. This vision of the future was so vivid that it seemed like an unattainable ideal, a beacon of light in a world filled with uncertainty and doubt. I remember one especially warm evening. We sat on the terrace, surrounded by the scent of jasmine and the sound of the surf. Maxim gently took my hand and whispered, "You know, I never thought I could love someone as deeply as I love you." Those words enveloped me in a wave of tenderness and assurance, and for a moment I forgot all my fears and anxieties, dissolving into that perfect moment of happiness. But time passed, and along with it, the first cracks began to appear in our idyll. I started to notice that sometimes Maxim would become distant, as if harboring secrets he couldn't or wouldn't share with me. Those small moments, a pensive look, a withdrawal in conversation, a sudden shift in mood, gradually awakened a feeling within me that I tried to suppress: anxiety. That inner voice kept whispering, "Be careful. Not everything is as perfect as it seems." Every time I questioned these signs, I heard a quiet echo reminding me that love is not only about joy and happiness, but also about trials, tests of fidelity and sincerity. These doubts tormented me, making me wonder, could someone who seemed so loving and genuine really harbor secrets that could destroy everything I believed in? Yet, despite these warnings, I tried to hold on to my faith, hoping that everything would eventually be explained, that it was merely the product of my own anxious imagination. As is often the case, the truth revealed itself at the most inopportune moment. One morning, I awoke with a slight feeling of unease, as if the very air in my room was steeped in a premonition of doom. I couldn't quite pinpoint what was wrong, but my intuition whispered that this day would be different. Maxime left for work earlier than usual, leaving me alone with my thoughts and apprehensions. It seemed that every movement he made concealed a secret, and every look held an unspoken word. The day dragged on slowly, filled with forebodings and unexpressed meanings. Throughout the morning, I tried to find an explanation for the strange occurrences creeping into my everyday life. Yet, nothing foreshadowed the impending calamity. It all appeared as normal as ever. And then, by evening, as the sun began to sink toward the horizon, I felt a rising anxiety within me. For some reason, every phone call, every text message made my heart race, and my thoughts whirled in an endless vortex of suspicion. I decided that later that evening, when Maxim was once again delayed at work, I would quell this unease by speaking with him directly, by asking him straight out. But fate had other plans. That fateful evening, when I found myself alone at home once more, my soul was filled with questions and uncertainty. Maxim had promised to return, yet time dragged on, and his voice on the phone remained silent. Then, a thought struck me. A thought that seemed impossible, yet could no longer be suppressed. I must find out the truth. Without hesitation, I grabbed my jacket, took my keys, and headed to the showroom where he worked. Inside me, emotions raged. Fear, hope, determination, and hurt intertwined into one inextricable knot. I knew that this step might change everything, but the desire for truth was stronger than fear. With every step along the streets, lit by the dim glow of streetlights, I felt the distance between the past and the present tighten around me in the cold embrace of doubt. What if I discover what I fear most? Whispered that inner voice. Yet I had already passed the point of no return. That day became a turning point in my life. A day when innocent hopes collided with harsh reality. And although at that time I did not yet know all the details of the betrayal, it was in that very moment that a determination was born within me. I had to uncover every secret, even if the truth turned out to be painful and devastating. Immersed in memories, I found myself reflecting on how it all began. Our first steps, filled with hope and dreams, had seemed so light and natural. Remembering how we used to laugh together over trivial things, how we shared our most intimate thoughts, I couldn't help but smile. Smile at the time when the world seemed so bright and full of possibilities. Yet, deep down in the darkest corners of my soul, there always lingered a shadow, a premonition that I could never quite shake. That shadow slowly transformed into an inevitable foreboding of doom, growing with each passing day. And now, as I stood on the brink of an unavoidable revelation, all those small, seemingly insignificant moments took on a sinister meaning. I realized that every person carries within themselves two sides, the light and the dark, and perhaps it was precisely this duality that had caused our downfall. How could I have expected that the man I so passionately dreamed about could ever be completely honest and open if he himself did not know every corner of his own soul? When I approached the building of the showroom, my soul literally cried out in anticipation of the pain to come. My heart pounded as if trying to break free from my chest, and each step was taken with difficulty. Inside me, two forces waged war. One pulled me toward the truth, while the other warned me of the pain that lay ahead. But I knew that the truth, no matter how bitter, set you free, and I had to know it, come what may. As I opened the door to the showroom, I felt an abrupt change in temperature. The cold metal, mixed with the faint haze of the cool night air, seeped into every cell of my body. Step by step, I approached that moment which would forever alter my understanding of love and trust. Memories of our happy days, of dreams and plans, intermingled with the harsh reality that at every corner there might be betrayal waiting to be discovered. In that moment, I found myself standing on the threshold of a new phase of my life, a phase when innocence gave way to the brutal truth and trust transformed into deceit. Next time, I will share with you how that fateful moment unfolded, when I came face to face with Maxim, and how that moment opened my eyes to the full depth of his infidelities and my own pain. Stay with me. There are many more revelations, more candid confessions, and perhaps even redemption to come. I remember that moment as if it were etched in my memory. A cold, moonless night, when I, trembling with both excitement and terror, stepped into the showroom that once shone with the light of our family idyll. My footsteps echoed through the empty corridors, and the air seemed heavy with the promise of inevitable retribution. In a corner of the hall, I saw him, Maxim, entangled in a web of lies and passions, desperately trying to escape the unavoidable. He stood next to a luxurious car, his eyes filled with uncertainty, his lips frozen in words that could never atone for his betrayal. "Irina." His voice faltered as our eyes met, but this time there was neither warmth nor comfort in his words. It felt as if time had slowed, and every movement, every sound, exposed the pain I had long tried to contain. Inside me, a storm of thoughts erupted. How could the man I loved so deeply, so easily, lose everything we had built together? How could someone who promised to be my rock turn into a stranger, full of secrets and lies? I felt every cell of my body trembling, and in that instant, a fierce determination awoke within me, the determination to put an end to this nightmare. "Maxim, enough!" My voice rang out like a siren, shattering the silence of the showroom. He took a step toward me, but I could already see the fear and confusion in his eyes. In that moment, a cascade of memories flashed through my mind. Happy mornings, quiet evenings, our talks about the future. And there they were, the shattered fragments of those moments, broken into thousands of pieces by betrayal. Standing before him, I felt how all those years filled with love and trust had coalesced into one icy lump of pain. Recalling every time that mysterious earring appeared, every receipt, every unfamiliar message, I could no longer hold back the inner cry, "You have destroyed our life." "It's not what you think." Maxim tried to justify himself, but his voice rang hollow, like an echo of long-forgotten promises. I stepped back, lowered my eyes, and the words I had repeated to myself countless times resonated in my head. I deserve the truth, even if it hurts. My hands, which had just been clutching his phone, the source of all the evidence of his infidelity, trembled with fury. I replayed in my mind hundreds of messages that exposed his double life, each word landing like another blow to my soul. That inner voice, sharp as a steel blade, cut away the last remnants of my faith in our love. You trusted him too blindly. How could you? How could you betray me like this? I demanded with despair and anger, feeling an intense boiling within me. The words burst out as if all the accumulated years of pain and disappointment had finally found their escape. His face contorted, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a glimmer of remorse in his eyes. But it was so brief that it could never make up for the years of deceit. I wanted so much, he began, but I cut him off, not allowing him to continue his feeble excuses. I could no longer listen to words that had long lost all meaning. A new feeling arose within me, a resolve to sever all ties that bound me to the past. We stood there like two opposing worlds, one where I had lived a full life and another where Maxim was drowning in his own lies. His voice grew weaker, while my words became sharper and firmer. You promised me eternity, I said, clenching my fists. But eternity turned out to be nothing more than a mirage, crafted by your words to hide the truth. I hear the love we once knew shatter into a cold void. You have no idea how much pain you've caused me, how many hours I've spent wondering where it all went wrong. At that moment, tears welled in his eyes, and I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I could ever forgive him. Inside, a storm of doubts raged, and I heard my heart whisper softly, "Forgive or let go forever." Maxim, struggling back his tears, said quietly, "I was weak. I made mistakes, but I loved you." Those words, so familiar and devoid of sincerity, only deepened my wounds. I felt my soul shattering under the onslaught of conflicting emotions, anger and sorrow, hurt and longing intertwining in an unyielding battle. An inner monologue thundered in my mind. I am tired of the lies. I am tired of the blind trust you shattered. Today I must decide to forgive so I can move on, or to let you go forever so that I can reclaim my life. That decisive moment wasn't so much his confession as it was the silence that followed his words. In that silence, I heard the voice of my true self, a voice that said, "You deserve happiness, love, and truth, and I will no longer allow anyone to dim the light within you." After long, unbearable minutes of silence, I realized that the answer was already ripening within me. I had to look inside myself, beyond the pain and anger, to find that spark capable of rising from the ashes. I remembered all the moments when, despite the pain, I had felt strong, when nature, the sea, and the dawn gave me hope for something better. Taking a deep breath, I whispered almost inaudibly, "Maxim, I forgive you. I forgive you not for your sake, but for mine. I forgive you for showing me who I do not want to be. But that does not mean I will stay with you. Today, I choose my freedom." Those words fell like a verdict, the final note in a symphony of pain and disappointment. In that moment, I felt the burden of deception and lies that had weighed on me for years slowly recede, making way for lightness and liberation. With every passing second, a new feeling emerged inside me, the belief that I could start anew, that even from the deepest darkness, light can be born. Maxim, unable to utter another word, simply lowered his eyes in silence. His gaze spoke volumes, that he had finally grasped the magnitude of his betrayal. But it was already too late to restore what had been lost. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight began to filter into the room, I knew my life had changed forever. I gathered my things, took our loyal dog, the one who had stood by me through every trial, and filed for divorce. Every step, every movement felt both painful and liberating. Walking through the corridors of our former home, I sensed the echoes of past days receding, making space for something new, a new chapter in my life. Saying goodbye was not just a ritual, it was a complete farewell to illusions. I was bidding farewell not only to Maxime, but also to the image I had once cherished in my heart. In the mirror, I saw a woman worn by pain, yet ready to embrace a new life with an open heart. I whispered softly, "Farewell, my former life. Thank you for the lessons, for the tears, and for making me stronger." Every fibre of my being screamed that it was time to move on. I realized that forgiveness is not a gift for the betrayer, but an act of love toward oneself. It was at that moment I felt the spark of new hope ignite within me, a spark that would never be extinguished no matter the trials. A few weeks later, I moved to the seaside, a place where the endless expanses of water and sky merge into one harmonious vista. There, amid the sounds of the surf and the refreshing taste of salty wind, I opened a small yoga studio, a sanctuary where every soul could find peace and healing. In that space, I taught not only yoga postures, but also how to embrace one's pain, transform tears into a source of strength, and discover light even in the darkest times. Every morning began with meditation, and each new day I felt nature bestow upon me a fresh breath of life. The sea breeze caressed my cheeks, and the sound of the waves washed away remnants of old hurts and resentments. I learned to forgive myself for years when pain had overshadowed my life, and I relearned how to love myself anew, free from the weight of past mistakes. In the studio, filled with the scent of lavender and the freshness of the ocean, I met new people, those seeking solace and understanding. Every encounter reminded me that despite betrayal and pain, life always offers the chance for a new beginning. In every face, I saw a reflection of my own story, a tale of falls and rises, of losses and great discoveries. During those days, my inner dialogue was imbued with a quiet resolve. I will no longer let anyone dictate who I should be. I choose to live, to love, and to forgive, starting with myself. Every new day is a chance to start over, to leave behind everything that once held me captive. I witnessed my soul, battered by years of betrayal, begin to come alive once again. In the quiet hours of the morning, as the sun chased away the chill of the night, I felt life coursing through my veins, a life in which every moment was imbued with new meaning. Then, one day, several months after that fateful evening, Maxime called me. His voice over the phone was soft, filled with regret and sorrow. He asked to meet, to try and talk, to salvage even a remnant of our past, but I was already a different woman. In that moment, I understood that forgiveness does not mean returning to old ways. It means freeing oneself from the chains that once bound you to pain. Maxim, I hear your words, I said calmly, but our life can never be what it once was. I forgive you because it helps me let go of what was, but I will not go back to a place where lies once outweighed love. Today, I choose freedom and light, not endless pain. In his voice, I heard remorse, but also the realization that all that remained of our relationship was merely a ghost of days gone by. That final conversation marked my point of no return, a moment when I fully embraced a new life, a new reality in which I became the master of my own happiness. After that conversation, I closed the door on the past and stepped confidently toward the future. Every day now held meaning, and with every minute I was building a new universe, a universe where love began with self-respect, and forgiveness was the key to healing the soul. Looking back on all those years of pain and suffering, I understand now. Every tear, every moment of disappointment was necessary for me to discover my true self. I learned that love is not blind. Sometimes it demands trials to show us who we truly are. I realized that forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but the highest form of strength that allows you to let go of what has passed and open the door to new happiness. Now, as I sit by the sea, I feel every wave washing over my soul, cleansing away the remnants of pain and leaving only freshness and clarity. In the reflection of the water, I see my new life. A life where every mistake becomes a lesson and every blow of fate makes me stronger. And although the past may never disappear completely, it no longer controls me. I choose how to live, whom to love, and how to find joy in every new day. Dear listener, I am sincerely grateful that you have walked this path with me, for sharing in my joys and sorrows. May this story serve as a reminder that despite every trial and the pain of betrayal, there is always room for healing, for new love, and for the light that guides us to happiness. With that, I bid farewell to the past and welcome a future filled with hope and promises. Thank you for watching until the end. May your life be filled with love, understanding, and light. And may every obstacle become a stepping stone to a new, better day. This was the final chapter of my story. A story based on a brief outline in which Maxim betrayed me for years, and one fateful night changed everything. May this tale remind you that even in the darkest moments, a spark of hope and the strength for a new beginning can be found. Thank you for your attention, for your loyalty, and for sharing this journey with me. Wishing you happiness, love, and peace in your heart.